Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the LFC transfer room for Liverpool's build-up to the upcoming. I don't want to say must-win because I feel like every game is a must-win at this point. But Liverpool versus Bournemouth at the Vitality Stadium, still a bit of a shit name. Sorry, Bournemouth, but yes, that is this Saturday, 3 p.m. Liverpool for a chance to extend their lead at the top of the table with Arsenal playing Man City. Chelsea are playing Tottenham, I believe. It's all to play for, and I've got Dan, I've got Reese, I've got Race, and we're going to be going through all the nitty-gritty, all the details, players returning, giving our predicted lineup, predicted scores, and touching a little bit on Bournemouth, which we'll start with to begin. I haven't typed out my comment because I'm a very, very poor host, but please make sure to click like and subscribe. I'll do that as we're going through. I'm very unorganized, and that seems the complete opposite of Bournemouth, Dan, because Bournemouth at the moment, you can't give them much to fault. They've got a weakened squad, but they're still playing like the absolutely top level. I mean, to say underdogs is a bit of a harsh statement, I like to think, but I don't think anyone really expected Bournemouth to be in this type of form that they're in, surely.
Oh, absolutely. I think Bournemouth for the past 15, 18 months, pretty much when they got rid of Gary O'Neill, which I thought was very harsh at the time, and got Iraola. Richard Hughes is the sporting director. They got him in. Even when they were losing early on, because you remember early on, people were saying, is he going to be another, who was the manager at Crystal Palace for a bit before he was sacked? He was like 10 games in without a win. I don't think his name. Was it?
Frank de Boer, yeah.
Frank de Boer, yeah. Very de Boer, yeah. And because he had come over from Inter Milan, it was seen as like this ambitious new signing from Crystal Palace. Iraola is just different gravy, different mustard, so to speak, as well. Bournemouth have been probably one of the best teams in Europe and one of the most underrated teams in Europe for the past 15, 16 months. Very well organized, very well set up. Honestly, there was some things going around in the Twitterverse, the interweb, so to speak, is that this is the first time an 18 unbeaten team and faces 11 unbeaten teams since the Liverpool City 4-3 at Anfield, which is when City were at their 18 unbeaten run and we were on the 11 unbeaten run. Great game, great night. Throwback. If anybody wants to go back and rewatch it just for nostalgia, 7 years ago. Actually, no, it was 8 years ago now. Oh God, not to age everyone here real quick with that. They're good. They have a lot of injuries. There's not a lot of depth in them right now. So what you're going to see is what you're going to get. They're going to be very Tottenham, but with more organization and slightly better players. Patrick Kluivert, someone that has not flopped, but has been disappointing at like Roma ever since he left Ajax. Son of Justin Kluivert, not Patrick Kluivert. Patrick Kluivert was his dad. Justin Kluivert. He's been in good form. Semenyo's been in good form. They have Kirkias, which everyone has been rating and wanting for the winter season. But again, like that was always unlikely to happen. They have Dean Hoylson, who I think is the center back that Liverpool should throw money at this summer. Regardless of if Van Dijk stays or not, they should throw money at him because he's the best one coming up. They're just a really good team, and they might be able to make it over the line to get Europa League or Conference League. But Iraola is probably the next manager that a top club should sign. If Postecoglou is sacked in the summer, which I imagine he probably will be, regardless if they sign Matthias Taylor or Tomori. I can't remember his first name. Tomori from Milan.
Tayo Tomori.
Yeah. Regardless if they sack Postecoglou or not, any club that needs an upgraded manager should go all in for Iraola because he's probably the closest manager that's come over that's closest to Klopp in terms of pedigree. When he was in Spain, he was taking a very small squad, underperforming side and going toe-to-toe with Barcelona and Madrid. And I actually think he got a win at the Bernabeu back then when he was the manager as well. So he is the next up-and-coming manager. I also obviously rate Thomas Frank as well in that category, but he's very dynamic. He plays good football. Like this is going to be an attacking showcase, is all I'm going to say. This is going to be very much a two teams fighting to express their attacking prowess over the course of this game. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be fun. I don't know if our blood pressure is going to handle it, but I feel like the way this game is going to go is that it's either going to be it's either going to be a 4-0 to Liverpool a 3-3 or a 4-3 to Bournemouth, where it's like they get a last minute winner. This is I would be surprised if there was less than 3 goals scored on this game, like total. If there's less than 3 goals scored cumulatively, then something went wrong with this game.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on Bournemouth's like their attack. It's out of this world, and they are a little bit threadbare at the moment. Like, so I've got the list of injuries in front of me: Unal, Ivan Nielsen, Senesi, Smith, Areo, Alex Scott, James Hill, Sinistera, Julio Soler. There's a lot of injuries in that squad, and yet somehow it's not affecting them. They smashed Newcastle 4-1, who we struggled against, put 5 past Nottingham Forest, who we struggled against, and only put 1 goal against them in 2 matches. They are on good form. And Reece, I mean, just keeping the topic on Bournemouth for a bit, it really is incredible what they've done. But what is it about them that you just think, that's why they're so good? Like, what is it about them that's making them out of this world at the moment?
I think a lot of credit's got to go to the manager. I think he's a very talented manager. I like his style of play. Obviously, they've got a lot of good players as well. Obviously, Hughes is with Liverpool now, but their recruitment's always been quite good, Bournemouth. But if you watch them from when they first come up, they've steadily been progressing each year. Even when they were under Eddie Howe, they were a good team. I just think they're on another level now. Obviously, it's always the case. Liverpool end up playing teams when they're in the form of their life. Obviously, they've been doing quite well, but the last few games, especially the way they dispatched Nottingham Forest and the Newcastle one as well. I was like, I thought that game there was going to be goals, but I didn't expect it to be so one-sided, especially at St James's Park. So it was a tough place to go. I just think they've got a lot of good players, underrated players that are obviously not world class, but I think very, very good players where if they make that next move to maybe a bigger club, they could become world class.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people in that team who you think could definitely go to so-called bigger clubs, like Solanke did, going to Tottenham. It feels like every season there's that team that overperforms. Last season was Villa, the season before was Newcastle. You can go as far back as Norwich back in the 90s and the early years of the Premier League. Like every season there is that team who overperform. And Race, I mean, like Reece touched on perfectly, they've slowly built up, they've slowly progressed, they've done it very well. And Bournemouth aren't the richest team in the world. They actually have the lowest, I think they have the smallest stadium capacity in the Premier League. They don't have a lot of money to spend. So the fact that they've got to this position where they've signed these fantastic players and this fantastic manager, it's such a well-run club. I mean, in that regard, is Richard Hughes, he's obviously done a great job at Bournemouth, but does that fill you with even more confidence going forward with Hughes in the role? And then you can touch on Bournemouth after that as well. I'm just curious what your thoughts on it are.
Yeah, definitely. Just on the backs of, how well we've done with our transfer business in recent years under Klopp and all that, like, we've just brought in the right players, seem like at almost every turn. And so to see that, have another person in the building that has seen that work at a previous club, like, yeah, it's definitely a good thing. And I have so much respect for what Bournemouth are doing at the moment. I think it's, 12 games unbeaten right now for them. Of course, I mean, is this our hardest game of the season? Like, we played, Real Madrid and City. Like, it seems like this could be our toughest game because they're absolutely on fire right now, and we're going away to them. We're at their ground, So, I mean, this is going to be tricky. I mean, we'll get into prediction stuff and whatnot, but I mean, I'm to predict to win, I'm not so sure about that for us. Granted, we have rested a lot of players, and it's we're obviously giving this game the proper attention it deserves. But you have to credit Bournemouth for what they're doing right now. And I mean, we've seen cases like this in the league in the past, like Brighton have become a decent side, and Brentford have done it, and other, teams in that nature. So, we've seen teams like these pop up in the Premier League over recent years. And so Bournemouth are just another example of that. And, it's just really elevated the entire, that middle ground or that lower end of the league. It's just elevating everyone, right? Because I mean, you could argue that's what City have done, like, because they've been so at the top and everyone's just kind of doing their own thing. And now that City have dropped off, there's like other teams starting to rise and starting to up their game, including us as well. So, yeah, it makes for I mean, games like these, I mean, when the schedule comes out at the beginning of the year, you're not looking at this Bournemouth game like, oh man, that's gonna be a tricky spot. You're like, okay, yeah, Bournemouth, whatever. But now it's like, okay, yeah, you better come and be prepared because they're gonna throw everything at you. Bournemouth are not gonna be afraid at all. Especially like I said at their place. And so yeah, I'm expecting a great game. Like what Dan said, it's gonna be back and forth. I think it's not gonna be too defensive. Hopefully we're gonna have our strong side, or we will have a strong team out there. So we'll be up for it as well. But yeah, I mean, I think this is gonna be a fantastic game. For a neutral, I think it'll be a tremendous one. But for us, it's gonna be we'll be sweating this one out for sure. Whether we're up a goal or two, or if we have a multiple goal lead, I wouldn't feel that we're cruising along. We're not like we need to take care of business here. And again, it's not a every game now on is a must win, right? Because we're in the title race. But like I said, I think this is probably our hardest league game of the season so far. Maybe the Forest one was another one, but like this, just given the Bournemouth form right now, because like look, they just dispatched Forest, 5-0. So now we're playing that team that we struggled to beat. So I just can't wait for this one. I mean, this really does. I mean, for me, it has a little bit of a big game feel to it, just given how Bournemouth are playing and just kind of where we're at in our season. If we win this game, like, man, what a result this would be. I mean, this would feel like beating an Arsenal or a City or something like that. And it really would feel like a big 3 points picked up.
Yeah, massively. No, I think you're absolutely right. And this is in a build up to a huge stretch of games where we've got Everton, Newcastle, City, we've got the FA Cup, the second leg of the Carabao Cup. Like, this is a similar stretch to what we saw earlier in the season where we had like Leverkusen, Real Madrid, City, etc., etc. And Bournemouth, just to give like some final things on them, unbeaten in their last 12 matches. The 2 games they did lose at the beginning of that streak, they lost to Brentford and Brighton. Before those games, they beat Arsenal, drew with Villa, and beat Manchester City. And in the 12 games since, they've beat Wolverhampton Wanderers, beat Tottenham, beat Ipswich, drew with West Ham, beat Man United, drew with Palace, drew with Fulham, beat Everton, smashed West Brom in the FA Cup, drew at Chelsea, beat Newcastle, beat Nottingham Forest. So they've gone through a lot of the big boys in the space of the past 15 games, and they've picked up like more positive results. The only 2 negatives being the Brighton loss and the Brentford loss. And they've really, they're going to go into this, I think, with the intention of we've got nothing to lose, so let's go for it. And I think they've warranted being that side, and I'm expecting them fully to go for it. But we'll move on from the Bournemouth bit because it's the Liverpool channel, of course. Bournemouth are just, credit to them, they're going to be difficult to play. But Dan, I mean, we're going to have to go through. We'll go through what Slot's discussed in the press conference today, and then we'll go through our predictions for the lineup, etc., etc. But Slot has come out and he said that Diogo Jota, Joe Gomez, and Darwin Nunez are all back in training. They're going to see how they are tomorrow and see if they're going to feature in the team at all. The only player out for us injured is Curtis Jones. He will definitely miss the match. But the other 3 that I just mentioned, Jota, Gomez, Nunez, are back in the squad or could potentially be back in the squad. They are back in training. So, I mean, it gives Slot, Dan, like a selection dilemma, not in terms of a starting 11, but his bench. Like, you look at our last bench that we had in our last match, and you've got Quansah, Kelleher, Tsimikas, Endo, Elliott, Dans, Chiesa. Now, you've got 3 first team or backup players due to come back. He's got a selection dilemma in that bench, surely.
I mean, yeah, I think we've seen from Slot that if Jota is anywhere close to fit, he usually takes him with the bench to travel. Whether or not he does it this time is another question, because our next league game isn't for another 11 days until we play the Derby away, which I'm pretty sure is the game that got rescheduled. So you have 11-day gap between the next league game. The 2 games between there are the second round of the Carabao Cup semifinal with Tottenham, and then we go away to Plymouth Argyle, which is all the way in Cornwall, which is a very, very lovely place to be. I hear. I've actually never been to Plymouth or Cornwall or the motherland of the.
You absolutely love Cornwall.
Love Cornwall. Listen, if anybody's from Cornwall, get in the chat. Yeah, I mean, I think this is very much if you could sum up any game as not title winning, but if you're going to submit and break away from the pack, this is really the game to do it, and this is the weekend to do it. Because I'm pretty sure City play Arsenal this weekend. Correct? Correct me if I'm wrong. So if Liverpool go and get the win, you just take the strongest. If Jota can give you 10, you throw him for 10 as long as he's fit. I don't think you need Joe Gomez now that we have Bradley back with Simicast and Kelleher. So I could see Gomez being left either traveling with the team but not not being on the bench, named to the bench, or just being left back in Liverpool for Tottenham and Plymouth because he's going to need games. And Kwanzaa, the Champions League game was very fun, but I think we all know that Kwanzaa's just really struggling for confidence right now. A lot of his issues right now are just more confidence based than anything else. Especially after that game against PSV, which no one should take any credence from because that's PSV's biggest game in 80 years or 60 years or no, I'm serious. They've never beaten us before. There were people generally crying after that game. It's their biggest result of all time. Yeah, I mean, not a dilemma, but I think that Slot's going to take what's going to give him the best options. Gakpo did go, but he came off, so I expect he starts. If Gakpo starts, I imagine Diaz is starting through the middle, which means Nunez will be on the bench, Jota will be on the bench, which I do hate for Darwin because he has been very good. I think it needs to be stressed that he has been very good the past couple of games, not just the winner against Brentford, obviously, but he has come in and put a shift in, and he's been very solid and consistent. He was just ill for the PSV game, otherwise he would have started. I think we can also put to bed the idea of Jadon Danns being the fifth choice striker right now because he still obviously needs game time and to develop. I do like the fact that Slot backed him enough to start him. And I thought Danns looked good at times, but also you can tell he's just not there yet. He's 18, 19, still growing to his body a bit. And again, with youth players, everyone grows in their body at different rates. Everyone develops at different rates. Development is not linear. Tagline we like to throw out there a bit. Yeah, no, he has a lot of options, but that's good. No one's on a long-term injury right now. That's the most important thing. If we remember this time last year, we were going into Brentford away with Salah coming back from an injury, and within one game, we lost 4 players to injury. That's the one thing we forget about that title challenge is that we lost 4 starters, Jones, Jota, Nunez, and Salah in one game. And if you want to understand why we did not go on and clinch the league last year, I think we were 9 points behind or 10 points behind City, Lou. Last year was at 9. They ended up with 92, right?
So we ended 8 points behind them. I think we ended. Oh no, you are right. 9 points. We ended.
Yeah. So so everyone's fit. Gravenberch got a rest. He starts. I imagine McAllister starts. Szoboszlai starts. Chiesa looks up and running now, so he's an option off the bench too. If there's one thing that's going to be about this game, it's can Liverpool withstand Bournemouth's attack, and can they score goals? Can they score goals themselves? This is one of those games where it doesn't matter who scores the first goal, it's who scores the third goal. And this game is going to be the most important because if it's third goal with Liverpool going 2-1 up, or 3-0 up, that will kind of signal where the game is going to go. Because I don't know if Bournemouth can rally. Bournemouth are a team that they're going to try and punch you in the face, and they're just going to keep punching you because they don't have the depth. They don't have who they have is who they have. So they're going to try and knock you out where they can and just try to hang in and attack and keep attacking as well. And so it's up to Liverpool to, control the game, score their opportunities, limit Bournemouth, which we've done pretty well. Even though people have compared our stats between this year and last year and how they're very similar, the underlying numbers are we're much better than we were last year, especially on XG defending, counterattacking shots, and clear shots. It's just that we have one clear shot in the game and they usually score. Ipswich at home, the most recent example of that. So it's going to be good. There's going to be options. I don't think you could go wrong with any player playing this game. It doesn't matter if you're throwing Jota, Nunez, Chiesa, any player we have, you can justify them having 30 to 40 minutes coming on in this game at some point.
Yeah, I think you're right. And look, we'll start going through the lineup because Reece, I think we're all in agreement. Alisson is going to start. That's just a fact. But I'm curious to get your thoughts on the left back spot because obviously Robertson and Simicast started in the back line against PSV, which I personally wasn't expecting. You can let me know in a second if that was what you thought was going to happen. But with Robertson obviously coming off as sub, you'd imagine that he was going to start. But is there anything in your mind that's maybe thinking Simicast should start over him, given the type of players Bournemouth have, or would you be sticking with Robertson? What are you thinking?
I would start Simicast. I think he's going to start Robinson, but I would start Simicast. I just think it's a technical game. I think it's going to be back and forth kind of game. They play football, we play football. They're going to try and go for the game. I know someone said in the comments that it would be a mistake for Bournemouth to try and go at us, but they are at home and they're playing with confidence. So I don't think they're just going to sit there and allow Liverpool to control everything and show too much respect. I think they're like I said, they're playing really well. Why and the way their manager plays, I don't think he's going to change their style of play just because they're playing us. If you look at some of the other big teams they've played, I think Arsenal, City, they went for the game as well. And I think then they win both of those games at home as well. So I expect them to come at us. Yes, that's going to leave gaps in behind, but I think it's going to be a back and forth kind of game. And I just think it suits Tsimikas more because technically I think he's better than Robinson. Obviously, defensively, I would usually say Robinson is better, but this season, as we know, he's declining kind of more and more. I think just because of experience, I think he's going to pick Robinson. I hope Tsimikas plays, but obviously I wasn't really impressed during the week. I know obviously it was kind of a one-off game, but that's the last thing I kind of want to see. I don't want to see Robinson in centre back kind of ever again because that was.
Some breaking news for you, Lou. Liverpool have Steven Bajeta just completed his loan switch to Las Palmas. We have done transfer business this winter, along with selling Marcelo Pitaluga to Fluminense. No, Flamingo. That's what we went.
FSG is so shameless.
So just a little quick transfer update that he did actually complete his loan move to Las Palmas. That has been approved. He is no longer at Rasenballsport Salzburg.
But yeah,
I mean, I get him going out on loan, but they could have. Surely there would have been a bigger, not a bigger because that sounds disrespectful, but a better club that he could have got. I'd rather Bajcetic gone to a championship club. I think he'd do really well.
Because physically, that's going to teach him if he goes that league's very physical. It's very competitive as well, personally. But
go ahead, Reece. Sorry, I may interrupt you.
I do think Robinson, or even if Tsimikas does start, I see him bringing Robinson on a lot of the time. Tsimikas doesn't really get to see out the game. But in terms of left back, rest of the team, I think it's going to be quite similar. Most people's going to come back in. Obviously, Virgil, Konate, probably Trent. Bradley didn't play that great against PSG, even though I kind of understand he's not playing as much, so we kind of got to cut him a bit of slack. But yeah, he didn't play that great. Midfield.
Well, we're going to go through. We're going to go through bit by bit on the team as we go on, and I'm going to get everyone's starting lineup just because there is a lot of it does sort of pick itself, we imagine, but there is discussions to be had over who actually does get game time. Because obviously there's no Curtis Jones. Is that going to do stuff for Harvey Elliott? And I agree with you that Tsimikas would be better suited. Does the fact that he played the 90 minutes not sort of do anything to make you think I wouldn't like to see him play, kind of thing?
Not for me, because I feel with him, he kind of performs better the more games he has. Whereas when he has a game here, a game there, that's when he kind of comes in. He's a bit rusty, and if he does maybe make a mistake defensively, a lot of the time it's because he hasn't been playing games. Whereas I want him to get a run of games, and he was kind of getting that. He picked up injury. It kind of looked like at the start of the season, Robinson was first choice, but then just before he picked up an injury, it looked like Tsimikas had shown that, okay, Slot was thinking, I'm going to put him as first choice, but then,
I'd have to agree. I think Robertson has struggled this season majorly against tricky wingers, so to speak. And like Tanya says, I prefer Tsimikas to start. Robbo gives away cheap fouls, which could be costly. And I'm not going to dispute Robertson's ability and his credit. He's one of, if not, well, he's not the best left back in Premier League history, actually, Cole, but he's one of the best by far. And he's warranted the right to have this dip because of everything he's given for us. But Tyler Diblin, Bukayo Saka, Noni Madueke, Mateus Cunha, he struggles against these type of players. And against a Semenyo, a Kluivert, Utara, these type of players who like to change position, you don't know who you're marking, I think it might get the better of him. So I'm in agreement with you, Reece. I think Tsimikas would be the better option, but I do think Robertson is most likely to start. And I suppose Race, the rest of the back four, you'd imagine picks itself, but could we possibly see any shocks in that back line other than the Robertson Tsimikas? Like, who's your back four for this match?
Yeah, no real surprises for me. It's Konate, it's Van Dijk, it's Trent. And I would predict Robertson would start. I agree with you guys. It's Tsimikas maybe I think would be a little better suited for this game, but given that, I mean, look, he played 90, Robertson was subbed off, and I think the plan was always to give, Robertson was going to start this game, and of course Allison in goal. Like as we mentioned, this is going to be an up and down game, and you need to have your best defense out there. And so, it's no question who's going to be in the back line, and really the rest of the team, for me is going to be status quo as well. Like it's going to be your best 11 that you can throw out there, and we had the luxury of our Champions League game this week not really mattering, so we put out basically a team that we'd put out there for the FA Cup. Like that's how we treated it. And two, we left our star players at home as well. They didn't even travel. And I wonder if, if we're playing like any other team in the league this tomorrow, if like even like a couple players would have traveled, but Slot, I think is like, no, we're not, don't even like this game is too important at the weekend. Don't even put those out. Like you are staying at home. Stay at home, put TV on, make some dinner, watch the game, and then we'll see you on Saturday. Like that's how important this game was. And I think right from when that was, kind of known that they wouldn't even be traveling, it's like, okay, yeah, we're taking this game seriously. And so this is going to be our best starting 11. I'm sure we'll go through the rest of the team here in a bit, but and look, with the left back too, I mean, there's a reason why there's been some links with left backs and why it's kind of a position we're looking to strengthen in the summer, because Robertson, he's not, is this his last season of really being a first team regular? Like what I don't imagine like we'll sell him off or anything, but like we're gonna bring someone else in, I think, and that'll and bring that player along, whoever that is, as being our long term solution at left back. And so I mean, there's a reason why there's some rotation, right? Because Robertson hasn't nailed down that spot this season. He's been up and down. He's had his dips in form and stuff. And Tsimikas again has proven to be a very capable backup left back. When he's relied upon, I think he's been overall solid for us. And so, and it's position two where you don't necessarily need like this out of the world performance. Like, of course, with Robertson, what he's shown in the past, like, yes, it's a tremendous thing to have. It's almost a luxury, but it's not like you need someone who's just like a world beat. You just need someone to be in there, do their job. And I agree. There's some concern, like with Robertson, like he's shown, like, he's lost a step of pace, he's going to commit a foul here or there. He's been at fault for some goals, and stuff. So there's a little bit of concern, but again, I still back Robertson to, be a professional, put in a good performance, and hopefully doesn't have any, glaring mistakes out there. So, and again, taking him off midweek, I think was, and he was on a yellow too, so they didn't want to risk, that as well in the game. That's part of the reason why he was subbed off. And so, I would predict Robertson to start with Van Dijk, Konate, Trent, and Allison in the back line.
Yeah, it is going to be full strength. And you said then that he's obviously said, look, it's the Premier League this week. We're going to give players the day off. And there was an interviewer in the press conference who said, asked him earlier on, he was like, oh, did you do that because it was Bournemouth? And he said, no, it could have been anyone. That was the plan all along. It could have been any team in the Premier League. They would have been getting rested. So it's not that he's looked at it and went, oh, fuck, it's Bournemouth. We're going to have to really rest people. He's just he's playing it really, really well, Slot. And I think he's done something which a lot of people give him criticism for at the beginning of the Champions League table. I think a lot of people were saying you need to rotate, you keep playing the same 11 over and over again. And we've been able now to bear the fruits of that labour, whereby we utilised all those players, got us through, and now we can rest them in the build up to these huge games. So he's played it very well. And Dan, I mean, speaking of playing it very well, like I think similar to the back line, midfield essentially self-explanatory. It's probably going to be Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai all rested, but is there a chance Harvey makes any kind of impact in this game, given his form, given his goal scoring form at the moment?
Maybe as a sub. I mean, it depends on like the game state. I think Slot's going to pretty much play game state at this point. Like if Liverpool are up, like by a couple of goals in the game, and it's kind of obvious that at that point you can rotate or the intensity's dropping, I think he might throw Harvey on. Did Harvey complete the whole 90? I had on the Champions League. Did he do the whole 90, Lou? In PSV,
he did, I believe. Let me just double check because
I
can't remember the life of me.
So yeah, I expect if he does serve, it's like, yeah, I expect if Harvey's going to come on, it's going to be a very like small amount. Of all the players that are going to travel, the ones I expect to do significant minutes are probably Nunez, Jota,
He did.
Jones. I expect to get to come in if he's ready to go. Those three, I
Jones
think,
is
still
Jones is
injured.
injured.
He's still
Yeah,
injured.
he's
Okay.
injured. He's missing the game
So
tomorrow.
yeah, so Jota, Nunez, Jota, Darwin, Chiesa, I think will get some minutes. He might throw Harvey or Wataru Endo on there just to kind of see like what. Again, I think it's all dependent on game state, but I think Slot's really gone with the idea of they're going to give me 90, and if they give me less, I have options. And the idea of like this is my set team as well. Yeah, I don't expect any change in midfield or back line. I think it's like I said, Robbo, Verge, Konate, Trent, Allison in goal, Dom, Maka, Grav, Gakpo, Diaz, Salah, even though I would rather see Darwin start at center forward, to be quite honest. I know that might be controversial, but I just think we just play better when we have an actual center forward there. And I think Darwin has, again, whatever criticisms we have of Darwin, all valid, doesn't score enough, not creating enough, yada, yada. He is still provides that platform. Again, I keep saying this and I'll keep saying it to the end of time because it's true. He's just our Uruguayan Emil Heskey, and Liverpool forwards play very well with Heskey. It's true. Like Owen Fowler, he gives you that platform. He'll frustrate because he'll never, he won't score the goals you want him to. And if he's through 1-on-1, you just kind of close your eyes and like hope for the most part. But Darwin has scored many game winners for us. He has that Origi part of him where he will just pop up with a goal at the end. Like I think he might even match like Origi's game winners now. Newcastle, Brentford, and Forest are the three in the league, and Origi had Everton. He had Everton, Newcastle, and Wolves was the big one I remember as well. Yeah. There's probably some more in there as well, but my point being is that he's got to start with that lineup that I expect, and it's going to be same old, grind it out. But we were in actually a really good vein of form. And I think actually by the fact that he played them a lot up till December, got them that rhythm. Like even with, even Jota and Darwin, like not being consistently played, the rest of the 11, the rest of the 9, the 10, that core set of players all have that rhythm with each other where they now know what to do during matches. And they're all comfortable now. They're no longer new to this, new to the manager, new to their roles, their positions. They're all in very comfortable spaces now. I think that's also why you've seen like Szoboszlai start getting a little bit more goals because people are finding his runs more as he runs in. People are picking him out a little bit more. Even that Nunez goal against Brentford, that's Nunez holding his spot, doing a classic striker move, run, stop, let the defense like shift the line, and then you just stand in the space. Very, very something that is very underrated for a center forward and for a striker is finding space. Probably one of the hardest things to actually do. Not even the finishing; it's just getting into space to get a shot off. So, yeah, I expect it's going to be our best 11. That like what's not their best 11 against Bournemouth, just hammering it out for the whole game. I don't think Bournemouth will stop attacking one iota. I think they'll keep going even if they're 3-0 down because they get what they beat Everton at Goodison Park with 3 goals in like 6 minutes or 7 minutes though. So, if there's one thing that Liverpool can't take for granted is this Bournemouth team will not give up. They've already have it proven to them. And, this is a free hit for them. Right now that table between third to where they're at, I think is like 8 points, 6 points. So it's a free hit
nothing to lose.
Yeah, they have absolutely nothing to lose. Absolutely nothing to lose.
They are going to go for it, and we're going to need energy. And I don't know about everyone else. I said earlier on today that I think Diaz experiment was fun for a time of having him up front, but I'm convinced that it's run its course a bit, and I actually want to see Nunez start tomorrow. And I don't think you're that controversial for saying that, because I agree. And Reece, look, Nunez has been bashed and praised and critiqued and loved and hated. He's the most polarized and divisive figure I can remember for a long time in a Liverpool shirt. But he's got an ability, and against Bournemouth, he scored 4 goals in his last 3 games, including the League Cup winning goal. He scored 2 against them last season. He scored against them earlier this season, a fantastic left-footed shot. he was ill for the trip to PSV, and the idea was to start him there. Do you think there's a world where he starts up front Nunez, or do you think he sticks with this Diaz system that he's playing at the moment, Slot?
He could possibly start. The only reason I think he may not is because he didn't play during the week. So say if he was ill, but I would have liked him to play that game. See if you can pick up a goal or two. I just think I kind of agree. I think the Diaz potentially up front has run its course. I think I wouldn't rule it out to not ever use it again. I just think it's been getting used a bit too frequently at times. But I just think he trusts Diaz more. Maybe he thinks his movement or what he offers across the front three in terms of maybe elusiveness, maybe he's a bit more clever. I would start Nunez. In an ideal world, I'll start Jota, but even Jota, I don't think, even though he's in training, I don't expect him to be on the bench tomorrow. If he is, then great, but no, I would start Nunez because I think based on his last couple games, obviously he's been all right. I think he's probably quite hungry. He might have a bit more confidence. I just don't think Slot trusts him. I think it's a big game. Obviously, every game's a big game, but I think, yeah, if he does, then great. But I just have a feeling it's going to be Diaz. I am confident with this game though, because I think because we was able to rest most of the team, I think that's going to benefit us quite a lot. I think it's kind of come at the perfect time, being able for all the players to get that kind of rest.
Does it ever worry you though that, and I might be completely wrong, but I feel like whenever we do come off a bit of a break or we do sort of rest players and go back to it, it feels like we sort of dip or we can lull a little bit. Like, I might be completely unfounded, but it's just something.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. The only thing I would say is that when we did have that the last time, I think, was it when it was the Everton game got postponed? That was a whole week. Whereas this is maybe a few days, maybe. So obviously we'll be able to see, but I would like to think that obviously they've probably still been training quite sharply. If it had been maybe a whole week, then yeah, I might think that might be a bit too long. But I think that like Dan said, I think we're going to need a lot of energy in this game because they're quite a fit team. They press a lot, and the way they kind of play is back and forth. So I do think most of our first team having that rest, I think that will benefit us.
I think we really struggle, Lou, with like anything beyond like 6 to 7 games for like match fitness because these are Champions League players are used to playing every 3 to 4 games usually. So I think if it's beyond a certain period, but since it's essentially a week from did we play on Sunday or Saturday last week? I'm already forgetting.
Was Saturday we played last week?
It was Saturday. Yeah, so it's essentially almost a straight 7 days week to week. And I imagine, like Reece said, when they didn't travel, they're probably still doing training and still doing some sort of intense training in there as well to keep that rhythm taking over. I think with the Everton situation, that was also because that was between Newcastle and Fulham, right? The Everton was between Newcastle and Fulham.
Yeah, so after the postponements when we drew to Fulham. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's also after like a period where, you know, you've kind of felt that, Newcastle was a game we should have won, maybe not deservedly so. Like, I think like the point maybe was fair, even though Newcastle, but we almost pulled off that win. And then Fulham is obviously with Robertson gets sent off, so it's a much different situation to deal with at the time. So I think now with everyone kind of in a pretty good, I think everyone's confidence is a bit up. I think that's the most important part. So everyone's fit and ready to rock. It might be 5 to 10 minutes, 15 minutes where we might be a bit sloppy or might be a bit, playing our way into it, so to speak. All that matters is that as long as we don't give them the early goal, that if you don't give them the early goal in the first 15 to 20, first 15, if you get to the first 15, play your way in, get a couple of chances, make them think, I think that will set the tone for the rest of the game. If Bournemouth calls us problems to get an early goal, it's going to be much tougher, which is the one thing I think they're all going to be stressing is that first 15, give them nothing.
Yeah, like we have a habit this season, or we have in the past few games, Race, of that sort of the narrative that we had last season where we concede first and we have to fight our way back in. And there has been a couple of games this season so far, like in the past few especially, where we have been the conceding team first. We have had to fight our way back, but we do it successfully every time, or at the moment we are anyway. And like, I don't know. There's something I can't explain it. It's just it feels like defensively there's something different. But going forward, we are still a dangerous side. And the Diaz situation, on one hand, I can understand why we'd maybe want to play him tomorrow because Bournemouth, like Dan said and like Reece said, they are going to go forward. They are going to go for it and they are going to leave space. But then on the other hand, I'm thinking a player like Darwin who can pull people out of position because he is coming that bit deeper. Like, which one would be the more effective one to be playing in this match, like against this Bournemouth side?
Well, I think in a perfect world, if Nunez is on top of his game, like you put him in there, and I think he can put in a good performance. Like we all want Nunez to succeed. He is the striker that. I mean, it's paid the big bucks. That's, we want him to be that guy, but he just hasn't, ran with it. This season, although I think he's been playing well the last few games and stuff and starting to find a little bit of form, but still trying to get there. And I agree with you, the DS stuff, that kind of experiment. It's good for a period and whatnot, but again, long-term, we know that Diaz isn't a striker. That's not his natural position. And eventually, all those types of experiments run their course. And so, I think you want Nunez to start and you want him to play well and put him out there. But in a predicted 11 for me, I would have Diaz in there. Predicting that Slot would put him in there. Just off the backs of Nunez. Not just coming back in with an illness and all that. I think it doesn't. I don't think it takes much for Slot to finding not an excuse. I don't want to say, but just like, oh, we're not going to start Nunez. I think Nunez really has to prove and earn his way into that starting 11 at the moment. And, any little setback, I think he's just going to put Diaz in there just to feel a little more calm and safe about things. And so I certainly would expect Nunez, if he is on the bench and he's able to go to come into the game at some point, given that it's not that we're not winning a blowout and then you're not, bringing on attackers in that sense. But if it's still a close game at some point, I would imagine Nunez gets some sort of run-in. To try and find these form. And now that Jota, if he's back in training too, that's also gonna, put the selection in the future games. Is Jota, gonna come back in and he's gonna start. Now that pushes Nunez down a little bit. I said with Jota out this last little period, like Nunez needed to step up and really take command of the position because there really wasn't any competition for that in being a striker other than Diaz, who isn't a recognized striker. So it's like Nunez. It's in a period where his future with the club is in doubt. If he's not going to kick on for the rest of the season, not going to have go on this incredible run of form. Like I question if he'll be with us next summer and if we look to move on and bring someone in. So it's all up in the air with him at the moment. But for this game, I think Diaz is gonna get the nod up front. We're going to look to Salah, look to Gakpo, look to maybe Szoboszlai, who's been really good in these last, he's on good form right now, and hopefully get some goals from that area of the pitch. And I think it's just kind of a toss up right now with Nunez and if he's able to kick on. So, but I would have Diaz starting, for this game.
Yeah, you'd have Diaz starting, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
just predicting what Slot would do. I think personally, maybe I'd want Diaz to start, but predicting, I would say Diaz is going to start.
Yeah, I feel like the illness, which I don't think it's been revealed what illness it was, and I said on after the match on Wednesday that it's very strange to me how he can make the trip and then suddenly he's really unwell and he can't play. I just think that's very odd how quick that's come about. Which there was someone saying norovirus, which sure, but if Nunez is involved in this game, I would like him to start, but I don't think he's going to. I agree with you, Race. I think it is going to be the Diaz, Gakpo, Salah that we're used to seeing. Gakpo obviously came off in the PSV match. Mm-hmm. Diaz didn't feature at all. Nunez is whatever he's got. I don't know what he's got, but yeah. So that is probably going to sway the decision.
I think I was gonna say I think it's sort of probably what Kwanzaa had, and I think Slot learned his lesson. It's like I how you mentioned it's like so they probably traveled. So they had the game on Saturday. The game was on Wednesday. They probably traveled Monday. I think they announced their travel plans. Was it Monday or Sunday? They announced the team. I think it was Monday.
It was Monday, yeah.
So they probably had Monday, and the plan was New Year's like, I'm good. Tuesday, he's probably like, you're like, that's just what happens. It's one of those things where like in 24 hours, because I imagine that virus that Kwanzaa had, that a lot of the players had in that January period, everyone was kind of a bit sick, and that's probably explains why we look like so poor against Tottenham, or that's where everyone looked gassed, like the Forest game. People were saying like, oh, we look so gassed. I'm like, well, it's probably because everyone's sick. Everyone's like playing with like on cold medication and head fog for the most part. I listen, illness affects everyone's different. Everyone is either asymptomatic or not symptomatic. But again, I've played sports sick and not near this level, and it's like you're playing in slow motion sometimes, like where everything just kind of like a bit like a hay fever. It's not fun depending on how it affects you. And I think with Darwin Slot, he probably said like he's probably like, I just have like a little bit of cough, like I feel a little bit unwell, but I'm good to go. And Slot's like, no, you're not playing. Or maybe he was puking up the side of his bed. We don't have, but either way, it's obvious that Slot either felt like it wasn't worth to play him and then pull him off like he had to do for Jarrell in the Tottenham game, or he like was just like puking his guts out. They're like, he's not gonna be ready to go as well. But if he's back in training, that he's obviously like fine. So it's probably one of those where it's a quick 48 hour illness where it peaks, you get over it, and then you just build your fitness back up. So that's the good thing though, is that he is most likely going to be available. Whether or not he starts him as a whole, like we've already been discussing, a whole nother matter. I would. He probably won't for his own reasons, like Slot, which he's currently top of the Champions League, won 80 million euros for Liverpool's coffer to pay the Salah plane ticket to Saudi Arabia after his contract expires. So we don't know we don't know why
existence.
Was that I'm not. I'm being sarcastic. You have to joke about these things because the reality is crushing. Yeah. Like I think Slot. This is the thing. People say Slot doesn't rate Nunez. He does or he doesn't. I think Slot rates Nunez perfectly fine. I think what Slot has been trying to do and why he's probably going to start Diaz is to give him options. So he's trying to give as many options as possible. Where he wants. This is the kind of the Nunez dilemma. The Darwin dilemma is that you start him, but you also kind of want Darwin on the bench. So it's paradoxical. You want them both to start and also have him on the bench at the same time. Like if it's like rugby where you could sub a player then sub back in, or like American football where you could sub one off and then sub back in, I think that's what Darwin would be, because he's someone that's like give you an intense like half or a couple of quarters, sub him off and then sub back in like for the end of the game. And I think that's just the dilemma of the player he is. And I think what Slot has always been trying to do is give himself as many options as he could. Whether or not he keeps him beyond this year, I think is a whole nother issue, is a whole nother matter entirely. I wouldn't be surprised if they give him a new contract and keep him around and then go sign another type of player. I know people would disagree with me, especially with, talks of 70 million offers or 80 million offers potentially. My opinion is that we've seen Liverpool keep Jarrell Matip longer and Origi longer. We've seen this with Tsimikas, where we thought Tsimikas was going like 2 years ago. He didn't. We've had summers where like people thought Chamberlain would go and Keita would go, or some player would go, and they don't. They stick around. So there is a potential that they do keep him around, stick him around, because there's just not that many center forwards in the market that one player like Darwin or two you could get in realistically to justify their cost. That's just my opinion, by the way. I don't want anybody to think that I have insider knowledge from what the Liverpool scouting committee is saying.
Well, I'm in the same thing. I think Nunez is going to go in the summer, but that's purely because I think you've made good examples there, like Chamberlain, Keita especially, but that was under the same manager. This is the first instance of a team in Liverpool since Brendan Rodgers left in 2015, where it's a new manager coming in and he may not view him as his type of player. And that's absolutely fine. If Nunez doesn't fit, Nunez doesn't work for him, you've got to do what you've got to do. I agree with you in the sense of, I don't want to cut off our nose to spite our face. I don't want to get rid of Nunez for the sake of he's not our player, but then not have any other option there. And I think that's why Diaz has been put in this forward role. It's because Slot's aware, look, you've got Jota who's injured, he's got legs like digestives, and Nunez, who his form's patchy to say the least. You do have to roll with it. You can't just rely on Jaden Dans to be your only other option. So that is probably a factor into it. And another, go on, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I also think it's an option of Slot's trying to figure out who do I keep of the three of Diaz, Jota, and Nunez. Who am I going to keep? Yeah. So he's also probably playing there where he's like, okay, I know what he is in the left wing. What does he give me here? What does he give me here? So and I'm not saying that it makes Diaz more likely to stay or less likely or any of them. It's more of getting that data. Like the last center forward we had that a manager didn't rate and got rid of was Benteke, and Nunez gives you way more than Christian Benteke did. And I liked Christian Benteke. I was glad we signed him. I rated him. I just felt that Benteke just never got that confidence. And I also I don't think and by the time Klopp got there, Benteke's ankle, he couldn't play the way Klopp wanted him to play. Like before his ankle injury, he probably would have been great, but afterwards he just wasn't the same player.
So I put a video on my channel, the 10 worst Liverpool strikers in Premier League history, and the amount of comments on that were saying, "Where's Benteke? Where's Benteke?" I didn't mind Benteke; I thought he was sound. But if we're going back into players of the past, we're going to be here all day. So Reece, I suppose we'll focus on one player who's here for the now. He said he's going to be staying. He's got no intention to leave, and that is someone who could feature against Bournemouth. And that's Federico Chiesa. Now, I don't want to sort of blow smoke up his arse and be like he's been fantastic. He's been good. He's been solid. He looked good against PSV. Maybe it pointed a bit much, but this is a good chance for him to make an impact in this Bournemouth game. I mean, is there a world where we could maybe see him force his way into these forward plans for this match or have any kind of impact coming off the bench at any point?
I don't think he'll start. I think it'll still be the same three of Gakpo, Diaz, and Salah. I think he can definitely come on. I was impressed with what I saw against PSG because obviously there was a moment as well where it looked like he could have been injured, and I was thinking, oh no, kind of thing, because of how he kind of plays the game. He's quite tenacious. He's quite up for the battle, but I think he can definitely come on. And I think for the rest of the season, I don't want to hear certain parts of our fan base be saying that, oh, this game's too physical for him, for me, because if you look at how he kind of plays the game, he's quite a physical. He likes to go into tackles. He likes to go into challenges. That's how he kind of looks like he kind of plays. Obviously, he's not the biggest, but he looks tenacious. He looks tough. Technically, he's very good. I just think it's a great option to have. And I think now that he's had 90 minutes, I don't want to hear that, oh, he can't play 90 minutes, because he's just showing you that he can play 90 minutes. So I would like to see him more feature, come on more and kind of give Salah a bit of competition. I know the left side is more naturally, I think he looked kind of better on the left. He can play the right, but he did look more comfortable on the left side. But yeah, I want him to be, for the rest of the season, I think that could be a big difference having Chiesa. I think, and from what he said as well, like I said, I don't want to hear no more of he's homesick and he doesn't want to be here, because he said multiple times that he actually rates Liverpool as a massive club, and he, like I said, he wants to succeed here. So
you always got to. Oh, you always got to remember the meme, Reece. It's don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Most of the time, I don't believe this until you hear it from the horse's mouth, you know. But
exactly.
I think most definitely that he can make a big difference. I think he can get some goals and whatnot, because he looks like he offers something a little different. He can drop the shoulder very easily. Technically on the ball, I think people forget the kind of player he is. Obviously, we know he's had injuries, but I think people forget what level he was at before all of that. He's a very, very good player. So
he's a Euros winner. He's won the Euros. He was one of Juve's best players at a point. And he's like Reece said, he offers something different. He's very versatile up front. He started on the right against PSV, but he ended up on the left. Very good. He got an eye for goal, clearly. And he is the type of player who's very direct and very physical. And like, we don't know what's going to happen with Salah. Nunez could potentially leave. Jota's still injury prone. There's links of Diaz going to Barca, which I think is just bollocks, but you know, it's still there. He's got a part to play in this team, hasn't he, Race? Where in this run-in, like, it's a great option to have going forward if he's going to start hitting form now.
Yeah, it sucks that it's taken really this long, I guess, for him to you kind of see the light now, like, hey, look at Chiesa, now we have a player, now we have something to work with. That was kind of the moans about him at this first half of the season, like, oh, we just wasted money on this useless player that's not getting any minutes. Well, he's injury prone and all that stuff, and knock on wood, he doesn't have these kind of lingering injuries and whatnot. But you see the type of a player that he can be. I think he's just a powerful player in the sense that he's very quick, and the shot he has he's not like a finesse type of shot, but it's just like a powerful, low driven type of thing. That's kind of what I see out of him. And it's different than what we have. Like, right, Salah's, he can put that in the top corner. At Diaz, I think, he has to work on his end product a little bit, but I just think he has a different type of winger, and you kind of need that variance in the squad, right? It's good to have versatile attackers, and so the hope is, now we can kind of kick on and play a role. And again, it's tough for him to get into our first 11 because you have Salah and Gakpo, who have just been incredible this season, and so it's really just kind of a tough thing for him. But again, that's why we brought him in. I'm sure that was communicated to him, like, hey, we have these front end players that we're gonna rely on and hope are gonna play, but try and push them, be next in line, be when they need a game off, like, come into the team and make an impact. And he had an impact midweek. He drew the penalty, and I think he had a shot that or he was involved in the second goal as well. And so of course, of course we're going to look at the goals and assists and the lack of those at the moment, but you have to kind of peel back the curtain a little bit and just put it in context of, again, it's like I said, it's unfortunate it's taken it this long for him to really kind of put his name out there and say, hey, we've got a player. But now that he's here, and hopefully he can be a mainstay on the bench and making these starts and games and whatnot. He's going to definitely be a crucial player. And in a title race, you need every single player available in your squad to, you need every single player, to push on. You need your depth and all that stuff. So I'm excited for what Chiesa can bring. Again, he's a great weapon to bring off the bench. He's such a quick player. And, if you're really chasing it, like, thing too, like, he was just a relentless worker, and he can even play through the middle in a pinch. Like, if that's an say we go through some massive injury crisis and you need Chiesa to play through the middle, like, that's something I think he could play. Maybe don't want him playing there, but I think, in a pinch, possibly. But I think he's a really nice player to have in the squad, and that's why we bought him. And hopefully there's something to work with there, and he can play. I predict he'll have some big goal down the stretch in a game that we need. We need a point. We get a late win or something. I think there's going to be a spot for him where he's going to have a moment like, how thank God we have him in our team. Because our other players just weren't performing. And so excited to see what he can bring to the table in the second half of the season.
Yeah, he's going to be an effective player going forward. And we're going to go around and get everyone's score prediction. If you predict the score, I want to know who you think's scoring it. I'll start with you, Race. Score prediction for tomorrow. Don't worry about the Bournemouth players who, like, if you're saying like 3-1, for example, don't worry about their scorers. Who do you think's scoring for us? I'm
gonna say it's gonna be a 2-2 draw. I have a lot of respect for Bournemouth here. I think it's gonna be like I said, getting a win getting all 3 points at Bournemouth, I think it would be an incredible result, and that would be worthy of a really nice celebration there. But I'll say 2-2. I'll say Gakpo and Salah get the goals. I won't say who gets first, who gets second, how the game will go. I just figure either both those players will get on the score sheet. Our two best goal scorers this season.
Hedging your bets, so to speak. Just going for the Reece, go on, man.
I'm going 2-1 Liverpool. Like I said, I do think it'll be a back and forth game. I wouldn't be surprised if we drew, but I just think we're going to edge it. And I have respect for Bournemouth as well. I don't think we're going to batter them. I don't think it's going to be that kind of game. It's going to be a lot closer. Two good teams playing against each other. But I'm always going to back Liverpool. I'm going to go goal scorers, Gakpo, and I'm going to go Szoboszlai as well.
Yeah, Szoboszlai's a great shout. Someone actually put that in the comments saying there's a Szoboszlai goal loading tomorrow.
He's Dan, to come to his own, I think, with confidence and whatnot. Szoboszlai. So
yeah. So
it's a great shout.
We actually have a really good record at the Vitality Stadium. No matter what form Bournemouth are in, we usually do pretty well. The last time we lost there was Howell's 4-3. That was the Toxic Thunder jersey. That was the Origi mad goal. I think we went 3-1 up, then lost 4-3. I think it's the last time we've lost when we've been ahead at like halftime or something.
Karius.
Well, I mean, well, it wasn't just Karius. This was also before we had, I think we didn't even have Van Dijk at the time yet. So this was like in that 16. We didn't have
2016 it was.
Yeah, so we actually still had Mignolet goal. Yeah, we had Klavan. Karius, Loris Karius wasn't there yet. Don't slander his name before. 16, 17. We signed him at 17, 18. It was summer of 17.
Was the goalkeeper that day.
He's the goalkeeper that game, yeah.
I swear he was. Am I wrong?
No, he spilled a goal. I remember that one. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Because it was his mistake for the last goal that cost us it.
Oh, well, then my memory's failing me a bit more. Now I feel terrible, by the way.
We got Karius signed in the same window we got Sadio Mane.
Oh, you're right.
17.
You're right. 2016. It was 2016, 2017. Okay. Yeah. I thought it was the first year in the Champions League. No, that's completely on me in that phase. 3-1 is what I would see. I think for Liverpool it'll be Dom, Diaz, and I want to say Gakpo, like Salah. It would be Gakpo, Salah. I think it'll be 3-1. For Bournemouth, I think it's just gonna be Kluivert because I think he's just such good form. Everything he hits goes in, so he's a good bet to like throw like 5 pence, $1 on whatever you can throw on. This is not endorsing gambling, but if you're a betting man, you can throw £5 on it, or 7.25 American dollars. Throw it on him to score because he's just been in such great form. I just expect to be very similar to the home game. If Liverpool get an early goal, especially like on a breakaway, I think that'll just set the tone of the game because every team that Bournemouth have played, I think they've out-muscled them and out-thought them and tactical and like out-thought them in many ways. I think with this game, it's just a different gravy. Regardless of what you think of Newcastle's midfielders, like it's just a step above. Like I know we like Guimaraes and Tonali and like Joelinton, but this is just it's just a different manager. It's different intensity. Isak's a good striker, but he's not going to work his socks off. This is very much going to be a man v man, win your battles, win the game. Very, very much down, very old school. Souness in the '80s speech. It's like I can't do a Souness impression, but if someone can do a Souness impression, it'd be great. If they go win their duels, win their battles, we'll win the game. If Bournemouth win their duels, we're going to struggle, but I don't expect that. They're going to come out like a house on fire. As long as we respond and keep our heads, I think we win this. Not batter them, as we said. I think it'll be a 1. If we get 1, we'll get 3. If that kind of game.
Yeah. Sort of like when it rains, it pours kind of situation. And to be honest, like I'm going 3-1. I think the big thing that people tend to forget about the last game is Bournemouth did actually score first. They just got ruled out for offside. Like I was at that match and they were very, very they were aggressive at the beginning of it. And I think 3-1, Szoboszlai opening, and then I think it's actually going to be Darwin, and then I think Salah. I think Salah's going to cap this off, get us a nice 3-1. Szoboszlai, I'd happily bet money on him scoring. I might do, actually. That'd be a great idea. But that is going to wrap it up because it's been over the hour. Didn't even realise until this moment in time, but it has been. Everyone make sure to... Excuse me. Everyone make sure to click like and subscribe. There'll be another stream tomorrow following the match. It'll still be 7:30 p.m. because the match is at 3 o'clock. Let us know in the comments what you think is going to be the scoreline, who you think is going to score. And hopefully, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, hopefully City do us a favour. Thank you all very much for watching. We'll see you in tomorrow's